welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Dani and this is Coffee Break with Dani. Today we're here with a girl talk, girl chat question and answer video. It's been a minute. It's always been a minute. I should just get that tattooed on my forehead. So if you guys are new around here, often, sometimes, rarely, it's been a minute, I will post a question box on Instagram and I say, hey guys, vent, ask a question, tell me a joke, let's hang out, let's get a conversation flowing. You guys leave me a question, a rant, anything, it's always anonymous, and we talk about it here together. And the reason that I am qualified to do this is because I am a severely traumatized adult on a therapeutic journey of discovery. And I use humor to cope. So, okay, in my almost 40 years of age, I should also get that tattooed on my forehead. In my almost 40 years of age, I have been through plenty of life-altering experiences where I feel pretty qualified at giving people advice. What I do not do, however, is take my own advice. So I consider myself a very good friend, a very loyal friend. My therapist told me the other day that she's like, well, of all of my clients, you're one of the only ones that speaks so directly in her sessions. So I think that's a good thing. We're all friends here and we've been here for a while and you're trusting me with this. So if you're trusting me with it, it's because you feel like maybe I may be qualified to answer your question or you talk about your rant or your confession or whatever. I try my best to bring in real life experience or examples just so that I can better explain myself, but I also tend to be a little long-winded and full of rants and tangents, so bear with me. Oh, do you wanna submit a question? Do you wanna submit a question? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. What question do you wanna submit? What do you wanna tell our friends? You don't want to send in a question? No? How about a rant? Or a joke? No? Oh, you just want some loving. Oh, you just want some loving. Ti amo. Sì, io ti amo demasiado. Io ti amo demasiado. L'amore toda mi vida. Sì, io ti amo. Ti amo, ti amo, ti amo. You see how she reneges my love? This is not good for my RSD. If you don't know what that is and you are neurodivergent, look it up. It might answer a lot of your questions. So we're gonna dive in, and like I said, they are anonymous. If you guys have your favorite beverage or a snack, go grab one. Today we're doing watermelon. Watermelon is our choice for today. We're gonna get started with this one. I really like this question. It says, so I'm overwhelmed and when something comes up, I am easily triggered. How do you cope? One thing that I learned this year in therapy was triggers usually remind us of a core memory, which core memories are linked to a feeling. So anytime that something in our present day happens that triggers us, it reminds us of a time that we felt that same way because of something that happened. So I think that understanding what your core memories are and your primary feelings are a really good way to navigate when you're feeling triggered by something. So if I feel triggered, I can't stop the train. I'm gonna feel triggered, but self-awareness is key. Self-awareness really carries you along, noticing how your body's reacting, reminding yourself to stay present and be mindful. Like if you really are that triggered, then, take a breath. Do the whole inhale for 5 seconds, exhale for 5 seconds, inhale or go outside, sit in the sun for a little while. Do something that really just disengages that or like puts the trigger back. How do you untrigger, like with a, you know what I'm saying? And when you have the time to really design maybe your core memories, I did it on an app on my iPad, and basically the way that my therapist taught me to do it was like a tree. And so a tree has roots and it has its trunk and then it has the branches. And each of the branches are a core memory. So the core memory could be getting bullied when you were young, or having a really loving mother that always hugged you or held you tight or was very affectionate. And so have those core memories lined up and then understand what feeling they remind in you. So for me, one of my core memories was Sue, or a babysitter that I worked with or worked for as a young child. And she was the one person that made me feel included, welcomed, chosen, purposeful. And one of the reasons why I felt so great doing my job as a teacher, and one of the reasons why I feel so great when I volunteer at my kids' school. So it rubs that nerve, that good nerve. And so triggers are all connected to core memories or ways that we felt when we were in that age of really designing our wiring. And so I think that once you step into self-awareness, you won't stop being triggered, but having the understanding of what it's reminding you of may take the spotlight or the blame off of what's happening in that moment in your present, because it'll remind you of your past. So you're able to disconnect the reason that you were triggered. You're like, okay, this is not a significant enough reason, or this is reminding me of this, but okay, I need to work more on healing that inner child part of me. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And for me, it's like, I mean, it's something that I'm probably never gonna be able to fully grasp or totally heal from, but just having that understanding and that grounded belief of where it comes from doesn't make the triggers happen less frequently or not happen at all or heal them, but it does help me move past them quicker. I really like this one. It says, being sexy. You mentioned in the vlog, what does that mean for you at this time in your life? So for me, sexy is something I've never considered myself. It's something that I've always considered myself the funny one, the intelligent one, the entertainer, the clown. Again, core memory, because my mom would always introduce me as, this is my daughter, the funny one. And so I never thought that I aligned with the adjective of sexy. But I also know, and now I realize this in my age, that I aligned sexy with how others viewed me. Sexy to me was, does this make me look sexy to other people? Will this make me sexy to, I guess, by the vote of someone else, as opposed to I'm sexy because I feel sexy, because this is sexy to me. And so separating that, or the differentiation between the two, really helped me grasp that sexy is not something that fits in a box. It's a feeling that you feel about yourself. It's this unabashed confidence, unapologetic sense of self that you are smelling a certain way, dressed a certain way, feeling a certain way, speaking in a certain way, that just makes you feel like you don't have to, that makes you feel proud of yourself, that makes you feel confident in yourself, that makes you feel like you don't have to say something and then say, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. Or, you know, you're true through and through. So me at my age now, if you were to say, how do you feel sexy? When I feel sexy is when I establish boundaries and I hold myself firm to them. When I say, no, I don't want to go to that engagement without an explanation, just because I don't want to. Or when I'm just not afraid to be myself entirely. It has nothing to do with my physique, how I look, what makeup I'm putting on. Obviously, there's certain things that remind me of sexiness or sex appeal, like a certain scent or fragrance, like dirty coconut, or a certain color or a certain texture of fabric against my skin. But in terms of a sense of self, to me, when I feel sexy is when I stick up for myself. And that's something that I haven't done in my entire life. So speaking up for myself, being vocal about what my needs are and being vulnerable and just having the courage to be brave, that to me is sexy now. And I wish it hadn't taken me that long to get here. Okay, this one, pandas, all the tias, all the aunts and the godmothers and like the older sister pandas, I'm gonna need you guys to really rally for our friend that says, I like a guy on Instagram. We talk, but he isn't showing interest, but I like him. I mean, I think all of us, the millennials, can agree that it's not a game. It's not a mystery. It's not, there's not certain rules or behaviors that we need to play to. If you like someone, there's not going to be a doubt. It will be obvious. And if you are self-aware to know, I like this person, but they're not self-aware to respond, I like you too, you guys aren't emotionally aligned, because there may be doubts on his mind. he may be insecure or have traumas that he's not working through, and you don't want to take out that garbage. Or you're the Tuesday girl. You're the Instagram Tuesday girl. You're not the Wednesday girl. You're not the Friday girl. You're not the Saturday girl. So you're just going to get interest when it's convenient for him. So I don't care how old you are. Learn from me. Learn from my experience. If someone likes you, it should be obvious. If someone likes you, it should show. It shouldn't be a doubt or a confusion or a mixed signals. It should be obvious. Because you deserve that. You deserve to know. A person that loves you or wants to get to know you or wants you to be in their life, it's not going to be a mystery. It's not going to be a game, because this person is aware that people have feelings. And to be blurry or confusing about them, I don't know. I mean, find yourself someone that thinks, would this make me feel good? Would I want someone to treat me this way? No, so I'm not going to treat others this way. And I mean, that falls underneath every potential context of any kind of relationship. If you already don't like how he's making you feel because you're confused, move on. Please move on, right? Am I right here? I don't know. It just, no BS, you guys. No BS. Don't waste people's time. You don't have to be direct like, hey, I like you too. But you have to realize as humans that we all have feelings, and we all feel sad, and we all feel happy, and we all feel angry, and we're all capable of those feelings. And if we don't like feeling those feelings or sitting in those feelings, why would we cause them to other people, right? I don't know. I mean, to me, it's that baseline and basic, especially when it comes to showing interest in another person. I don't know. It's just, life is too short. And I think now with Instagram and that like Instagram and social media and apps, that instant gratification of the swipe or the DM or the message or the whatever, it's made us very anxious. It's made us very impatient, but it's also made us very greedy and selfish and entitled to, in Spanish you call it ganado, which means having cattle. So like when you're in the dating phase, you have ganado, you have your cattle, you have options. And so because of apps and because of that, you have options, and people really take advantage of that. And it doesn't sound like that's something you're doing or enjoying, but I know nobody likes to be in doubt, and no one likes to feel like an option. So if that's you, if you don't like to feel like an option, he's already not the right guy for you. You know, maybe he's cute, maybe he's hot, maybe whatever. Just keep swiping, please. We got another one that says, tired of doing everything. I don't know what that means. You mean like in your house, like you're the house manager, you're the mental load carrier. Maybe you have a boyfriend or a spouse or, you know, a partner that you're expecting to kind of help with the load, maybe. If that's the case, then all I'm gonna say is fair play. The book Fair Play, the show on Hulu Fair Play, the card game Fair Play, look into it, read it, watch the show. You're gonna feel seen, and it probably will change your life, maybe, I hope. I really enjoyed it. All right, we are crowdsourcing. I'm gonna need you guys to chime in and leave comments for our friend and show her some support. Infertility feels so lonely. It's so much more common than we think, but no one talks about it. I can't have an opinion on the matter. That was something that I didn't have to go through. But at the same time, I've lost count with how many people I know that have dealt with infertility issues. And the fact that people don't talk about it, the fact that people don't talk about assault, the fact that people don't talk about trauma or child abuse and any of those things, like as comfortable as we talk about, you know, Instagramming our food, or I don't know, taking a yoga class or a Pilates class and documenting it on the Instagram. It can feel lonely, and it can be very isolating. So maybe some kind words of encouragement, or hey, I see you in the comments for a friend would be super helpful. I know how hard it is to feel like the world is completely on top of you, and with the billions of people on this planet, you feel like you're the only one going through this. And that is absolutely 100% unequivocally never the case. There's always someone else, or thousands of millions of other people going through the same thing that you're going through, which I think is why, as sometimes scary as it is to say things out loud, like on the vlogs, I also know that someone's waiting to hear that. Someone that thinks it's not common. It doesn't happen. It's only happening to me. I'm drowning over here and I need to know that I'm not alone. You're not. You're definitely, most certainly not alone. Learning to coexist in the same house while going through a divorce. Fun fact, remember when I told you that I sometimes am embarrassed to share things because it's personal, but then someone else in this world is going through the same thing? We, and by we, I mean my co-parent and I, actually lived in the same house while we were going through our divorce, after our divorce, and until he was able to move into his other house. It was so hard. It was super hard. It wasn't impossible. And if there are children involved, I think that also helps as sort of a distraction, maybe a buffer to help you stay in your grace and to keep you from being triggered. One thing that really helped us, probably the only thing that really helped us, is we had already agreed on our parenting schedule while we were navigating. Like, that was never in question, that we never had to go back and forth when it came to our kids. Actually, we never went back and forth. Our divorce was uncontested. Fun fact, it was an uncontested divorce anyway. And so we stuck to that schedule. So when he had the boys, like, that was his primary responsibility. He took care of them, he fed them, he picked them up from school, he did what he needed to do. And I was single mom, or rather single woman, and I would work all day and I'd go out and I, date myself and go out to dinners and go to new restaurants and go, run errands or whatever and try to stay out of his way. And that really helped, is kind of pretending that we were already living our separate lives, even though we were under the same roof. I would suggest, just because I am that person that is highly emotional, I would highly suggest for you to be kind, and it doesn't matter what the context of the divorce were or why or what happened, to just be respectful and to not flaunt things and to not be rude or mean or unkind in your behavior while you're navigating through this, because it is something that is super difficult. And even though maybe both parties wanted it or neither party wanted it, or you're to blame or he's or whatever, it's just one of those things that never feels good. So just try to conduct yourself in a way that you would want him to conduct himself in. He probably won't, by the way, but that definitely helps. You've gotten me through so many tough times, down to the OG Love with Food videos. You are a bundle of joy and it's so infectious. Thank you and love you. You guys, I'm being forged through fire right now. So comments like that just really matter. Thank you. Lost our first dog, a wonderful boxer of 13 years. When is the right time for a new friend? Is there a right time? I mean, I didn't know I needed 4 dogs and I ended up with 4. So I think it just depends on God's plan, on your plan. I don't know if it's something you even planned for. That's how we ended up with so many, but it's also the same reason why we're losing them all almost at the same time. And so I'm sorry that you are going through that. I know it's so difficult, especially after 13 years together. I called my mom the other day after the vet called and told us that Ernie has liver cancer and not much time left. And one of the first things she told me was, when are you getting a new dog? And it didn't make me feel good at all, because it was too much. And I think when you move past the hurdle of feeling like you're replacing a dog, I think that might be when you're ready. And right now, I know I'm not ready because I'm at a deficit. I feel gutted. I feel it's like secondary grief. I haven't lost Ernie yet, but I know I'm going to. I don't have the bandwidth to love and honor another baby in my life right now. So I need to listen to my heart and to trust the plan of if and when I'm meant to have another dog. I think it just happens. Like I said, it just happens. It's how I ended up with 4. And And so I'm leaving it up to God and to his plan and his divine timing, because I know that when it's meant to happen, it will. And I think that you'll experience that yourself as well. But big hugs to you, friend, because man, it sucks. What's your go-to quick meal to make when you don't want to do much? All right, quick go-to meal. I'm gonna put a spice combo in the description box. I make a giant jar of it and I just have it ready because it tastes good on chicken, on steak, on anything. It's like a magical spice herb combo. So just bone-in chicken thighs, slather them with this combo, throw them in the oven at 400. If you have a convection oven, 400 is good. 400 is fine. As long as they're cooked through 165 in the center. And then macaroni and cheese out of the box and steamed broccoli. I know, it's so easy, but my family devours it and it takes me, I could prep it in advance and I could just cook it in like 11 minutes when everyone's starving. So it's super easy to make. You're giving them the hearty greens they need. They're getting the protein out of the thighs, which tastes good. And because of the bone, they're juicy. And macaroni and cheese. Like, I don't even need to talk about macaroni and cheese, right? How to kindly tell my mom to stop interfering in my parenting. Is that possible with a Latina mom? No. But you know what is possible is honoring your boundaries, speaking clearly and maturely and respectfully and say, this is what it is. There was a topic of a very annoying topic that my mom loved to bring up. And every time she would bring it up, I'd say, is that what you want to talk about? Because I don't have time to talk about that. Oh, that's not what I meant. My mom's famous line. So my mom's famous line when I remind her of my boundaries is, oh, it's not what I meant. I was just kidding. I was just kidding. And that's my cue to recognize that she's never going to see things my way, but she also is pumping the brakes and understands that that's my boundary and she's not going to push. So to be clear and respectful and say, hey mom, you know what? The way I raise my children is not really up for discussion. Do you want to talk about something else? Because if you don't, I gotta go. If you do, I'm here. And it's just one of those things. I have a friend that's getting married and we were talking about the same thing. You know, her mom wants to go to her dress fittings, but the dress fittings have to be scheduled on her time when mom is available because she needs to be there. And it doesn't align with my friend's schedule. So what do? I said, you know what? You gotta let her know. Hey mom, I'm trying dresses on this day, and this day. I really want you to be there. I hope you can. And, I'll see you there. And if she has a problem with it, just kindly remind her, this is my wedding and it's really important for me to be able to get things done on my timeline. And I really want you to be there. I'm not doing this. This isn't about you. Like, I'm not choosing these times to exclude you. These are just times that work for me and my wedding dress. And just that gentle reminder. So, mom, the way I parent my kids is really not up for discussion. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but that's just what it is. And so now when my mom calls, she will still try and bring up that topic and I'll say, hey, you know what, mom, is that what you want to talk about? Because I'm busy. No, that's not what I meant. I was just kidding. So how are the kids? Okay, cool. Boom, we switch. And it has widened the gap or the distance between how often she brings it up. So that kind of helps. But is it something they're going to stop doing? No. Is it something that they're going to pretend they're okay with? No. Is it something they're ever going to be okay with? No. Is it something that they're going to stop trying to push? No. I think parents get to an age where they are incapable of change or maybe incapable of understanding why that change is necessary for you. But that doesn't mean that you have to compromise what's important to you or your boundaries. So as long as you do it in a loving, kindful, and respectful way, then there is no reason why you guys can't coexist and she can have her beliefs and you can have yours. But at the end of the day, they are your kids and they live with you, and your family now is you, your kids, and your partner. Not your mom. You left her home, you're not with her anymore, and your family, your little nucleus, like your little bubble, it doesn't include her. So if she wants to be included, she's gonna have to play by your rules because those are your babies. Have you considered going back to teaching when the kids get older? I love teaching, but I haven't gotten that far in my thoughts. I used to think, what's next? What's coming after this? Like, what am I doing? I don't know. I miss teaching, but I don't know if those are the cards. I don't know if that's in my future. I miss teaching. I love teaching. I just don't know what's in store for me, for my future. I think I'll know when I know, but now is not, now I don't. Curious about your birth experience. Okay, I'm gonna be in like the 1%. You're probably gonna hate me and roll your eyes, and that's okay. But you guys know I've been very vocal about birth and pregnancy and all of that stuff. Both of my kids were planned cesareans because I didn't want to be surprised with the birth. I wanted to know when they were coming, and I wanted to be able to plan accordingly. I hate to talk about birth like if it's something that needs to be convenient, because I mean, it's just one of those things that is so personal, whether you want the all-natural birth or you want the birth at home, or you're like, give me all the meds. I just know myself, and it was something that when my obstetrician offered it to me as an option, when I told her how anxious I was, she was like, yeah, that's something that we can do. She's like, a lot of people do it now these days. Before, cesarean was viewed as like an emergency surgery, and it has such a bad stigma around it. Like, if you have a cesarean, you're not giving birth to your own kids. But it's like, I'm okay with that. I just wanted to know, and I wanted to be able to plan, and I wanted to be able to have my parents here for it. And that was really important to me. So I was able to do it that way. And I didn't have a bad recovery. I know a cesarean can be pretty difficult and painful for some women. For me, it wasn't. I think for me, the only thing that was difficult was the feeling of like, my guts are gonna fall out. You know, when you need to go to the restroom or when you're asleep. I still sleep with a body pillow because it just makes my core feel safe. I don't know. But other than that, I mean, I thought I got home after delivering Mateo and I was doing laundry in a couple hours. I still remember my mom really getting mad at me. How to know if 9 years of marriage is still worth it when there are things that haven't been going well for a while? The blunt, literal, logical, direct person in me wants to say, maybe the fact that you're telling a stranger on the internet for advice, like you're asking me for advice, is probably a clue, but that is not nice, and so I take it back. But to describe it in a very morbid way, but also a very graphic and easy to understand way, is almost like when you have a senior pet. When they are unrecognizable anymore, when there are more bad days than good days, when they have lost that joy or that spunk or that sparkle in life and just aren't happy. There are just no good days. I think that's how you know. If you start to wonder what it would be like to not be married, like to fantasize about that, or you start to fantasize about going on dates, or you don't worry when that person gets sick, or you don't care if they don't feel good, or you don't care when they're having a bad day. When there's so much contempt, when there's so much contempt for that other person, like more than good feelings, I think you just know. And just because you know you want to get a divorce, or just because you know your marriage is over, the grass isn't greener on the other side. And people need to talk about that. People need to talk about like, oh my God, I'm in such a bad marriage. Get a divorce, get a divorce. Divorce is the answer. Because you think that divorce is the magical pill that's going to fix everything. It doesn't. If you think being in a bad marriage is hard, being divorced, they're in a competition at which one's harder. I would say being divorced is so much harder. But once you get through that adjustment phase and move on with your life and learn about who you are and love yourself again and date yourself again and just are happy wholeheartedly just on your own, then the grass is greener. But in order to get there, I really want to say it's worse than being in a bad marriage. That phase is so difficult. It is super difficult and scary and lonely, and the amount of times that I needed to be talked down from you'll just know. You'll know, and stay aware that it's not the magic answer, it's not the magic diagnosis, it's not the magic pill. It's the door through another mission that is just as difficult, but then there is light at the end of the tunnel. If you have more bad days than good days, or you are full of contempt for your partner, or you just wish you weren't even in that marriage anymore and you start to dream about what life is like without that marriage, I think you know. Sometimes when it's just too much, I stop and ask myself, what would Dani do? Thank you for being you. Thank you. That made my day. Thank you so much. That comment means a lot to me. How do you manage the Latina woman role and be true to your feminist side as well? I didn't know they were two different things. I don't think a Latina role is serving food for your husband at a party. I don't think the Latina role is like the Sofia Vergara or the Salma Hayeks you see on TV. I don't think the Latina role is to be submissive, subservient to a macho, misogynist man in your life. I think being a Latina means being passionate and being empowered and not being embarrassed about having big feelings. I think being a Latina means being independent and being hardworking and being resilient and getting up every time life knocks you down and punches you in the gut. So to me, being a Latina versus being a woman, there's not a big difference for me in that. And maybe I'm not a stereotypical Latina, but I just don't believe in inequality of genders. I don't think that should be a thing. I don't think that should be a thing. I think no matter your ethnicity, where you came from, how you were raised, I think choosing to be a strong, independent, empowered, brave, courageous, vulnerable woman that is respectful, that is graceful, that lives in God's image, I think that's all it takes. No matter where you come from, what your name is, or whether or not you identify with Sofia Vergara on Modern Family and having to think about things in Spanish and then translate them in English, because that's hard. You said your loved ones didn't choose YouTube. Does that mean no more Parker in videos? No, that is just, that's not a correct assumption. And I'm glad you asked that, because I'm sure if you have it, a lot of other people have it too. It just means, I think oftentimes when we are in parasocial relationships and we're super invested in this family we're watching or couple or whatever, and then we stop seeing them, we automatically go black and white thinking, doom and gloom, like we catastrophize. Oh my God, Parker hasn't been in vlogs, they're getting a divorce. And that's not what it means. Or, oh my God, this and this is happening. The most worst possible case scenario is what's happening. No, it just means they're given a choice. And sometimes I make the choice for them. So if I notice that something's going on, they're going through something, they're just struggling, they're not happy, they are happy, whatever. It's just, it's not a part of the deal. It's just an option. The best way I can describe it is take everyone in my life as an option to be in the vlogs, not an assumption that they're going to be in the vlog. So if there's a vlog, it doesn't guarantee that my boys are going to be in it. It doesn't guarantee that Parker's going to be in it. It just means that if the stars don't align that weekend, that day, that night, or whatever, or we have stuff going on and they don't show up, that doesn't mean anything. Does that make sense? That's what that means. I think this is going to be the last question and then we can wrap it up. Walking away from lifetime friendships and the grievance that comes with it. You know, I read a post, or rather, I've been seeing similar posts come up pretty often in terms of like therapy and trauma and healing and stuff. And the common thread is secondary grief and the assumption that friendships are supposed to last forever. Secondary grief, if you don't know about it, I suggest you Google it, because it is absolutely just, oh my gosh, it will completely change your life just learning about it. Secondary grief is like, okay, grief is like when someone dies, right? Secondary grief is when you get fired from a job, or when you are going through divorce, or if you decide to not be friends with the person anymore. Like, that's secondary grief. It feels very similar to grief, if not almost the same. There's a word for it, and there's ways you can navigate through it. So you feel that. And two is the expectation that friendships are supposed to last forever. People are put in our path to serve a purpose. to guide us through a certain time in our life, a season or a chapter in our life. And it's amazing. It's wonderful, and you are forever indebted to them. And they've rocked you to the core. They've created such a memory and a scar, a good one, in your life that you will forever remember and be grateful for. But you are allowed to outgrow friendships. You are allowed to speak up when your boundaries aren't being respected, or you change your boundaries and they no longer fit in that circle. It's heartbreaking and it's heart-wrenching because you wish it were different. But continuing on a path that no longer makes sense and no longer aligns with you is insanity. Putting on rose-colored glasses and letting go of all of these things that don't make you happy, that don't align with your sense of self, with your values, with what you believe in, and putting that aside just to remain in this friendship is not okay. It's insanity. You're putting others' needs above your own. And while that friendship could have served a purpose, or did serve a purpose when it did, at some point it may reach that point where it doesn't anymore. And you can trim the fat. You can move on, especially when you've tried to tell that person, this doesn't align with me. That is not okay. The minute that you get their reaction, that's when you know whether or not this is a friendship worth salvaging. So if you say, I'm not okay with that, that doesn't align with my values, I'm sorry, I don't agree with you, and they get defensive, or they attack you, or you're wrong, they're stepping out of the boundaries. You know, they're violating them. And that's when you know, okay, this is a good choice. At the end of the day, you get buried alone. At the end of the day, you know, you move on to wherever you move on to in the afterlife alone. And you don't want to spend any second waking minute of your life catering to someone else because of the shoulda, coulda, woulda. What is this gonna look like? We're supposed to be friends forever. I've known her since elementary school. So who gives a shit? People change dramatically every 7 years. And guess what? There's gonna be multiple occasions where they just don't fit in your life anymore. And that's okay. You know, stop living your life based on how it looks. What are people gonna think? I'm supposed to do this. That's not how life works. And you have to get to a point where you are comfortable saying, I am happier alone than surrounded by people I need to cater to. Or I'm happier with my 2 friends or my 3 friends than 7 friends, because we just don't have the same goals in life anymore. We just don't have the same values anymore. We don't have the same interests anymore. And that's okay. You know, we are so riddled with shame and guilt about everything. Like, that is the number one human emotion that we feel most of the time. The reason we get defensive, the reason we get angry, the reason we do the things we do is because of shame and guilt. And it is so heavy to carry around. So you have other things that you need to carry that are important, that have value. And if that friendship no longer serves its purpose, release yourself from that responsibility, because it's not an obligation. No relationship in this world is an obligation. Not a one. Not a single one. Maybe being a mom. Maybe. So there's just not a single role or responsibility in this life that you're obligated to, you know? And so don't sacrifice time. Time is the most valuable, precious thing that we have in this world, that can't be bought, that can't be, you can't rewind it, you can't get it back, you can't exchange it, you can't alternate it. Like, it is what it is. I'm never getting this moment back, or 10 minutes ago, or the 15 ago, or 15 days ago. I'm never getting that back. So why waste a single second of it anymore? I hope that helps. I mean, it's difficult. So definitely, you're not obligated to remain friends with anyone forever. This isn't a marriage. Heck, you're not even obligated to stay in a marriage forever. And look into secondary grief. I think that might give you guys some comfort and better understanding as to what this really means and what you can expect to feel or go through. But anyway, that is it for this, I was gonna say get ready with me. That is it for this girl chat, girl talk. advice question and answer video. I hope that you guys found it useful. I'll make sure to write that spice herb combo recipe down below so you can do a big old batch of it and make your family really happy because it is so tasty, you guys. Anyway, I will also have a playlist in the description box below of all these other question and answer videos. I know a lot of you go back and watch them. There have been topics that we talk about a lot often, like, you know, divorce and dating and all of that stuff. So if that's something that is happening in your life right now, you might find some stuff useful, or, you know, I'll keep you company while you're hiding from your soon-to-be ex-husband that's also under the same roof as you. I am so sorry. That was really difficult. Anyway, I love you guys so much, and you know what to do. If you found this video useful, entertaining, and learned something, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, this coffee break is over. That was so delayed, wasn't it? Bye, guys!